Hello! I don't know if you've heard, but this year I entered my fantasy era. That's right, me, who used to be intimidated by big books and by fantasy. I'm a fantasy reader now, officially. And of course, as we all know, fantasy is not the only genre in which big, long series is common, but it is the main one. And so, of course, that means that I am now in the middle of an awful lot of series. So I thought in this video we could chat about the fantasy books that I've been reading this year that are part of series and sort of like do a little bit of a wrap up or like an overview analysis of where I'm at in those series, whether I plan to continue or not, and which series that I have already completed or DNF'd. I'm not going to go over every series that I've ever read in my entire life. These are just series that I'm sort of like in the middle of or that I've been reading in the past couple of years. I'm not only going to be talking about strictly fantasy books. Most of these are, but not all of them are. And I have a few different categories. We've got the series that I have finished, the series that I'm caught up on, so that I've read all of the books that are currently available and out, but there will be more books in future published. The series in which I've read just the first book, but I think I want to continue reading. The series that I have read more than one book in and that I do want to continue reading. And then the series that I have decided in the last year or so to DNF. So let's start on a positive note. Let's talk about the series that I have already completed. The first and most recent that I wanted to mention was Mistborn Era 1 by Brandon Sanderson. In case you missed it, I actually did reading vlogs of each and every one of those 3 books. The first I really liked, the second 2 I did not. But I did finish that trilogy, so that's a big tick to me. Next we've got the Book of Tea Duology by Judy Eileen, which I have done a review of. That's a really solid adventure YA fantasy series with great cozy elements, including the magic of tea making. Another super cozy one is The Tea Dragon Society by Kay O'Neill. This is a graphic novel trilogy that I just adored. I read them all in the space of a couple of days. A graphic novel duology that I finished recently was The Curse of the Chosen. I spoke about this a little bit in my spooky reads for people who are scaredy cats for Halloween video, which I'll leave a link to in the cards above for you. Then the manga series that I've completed in the last couple of years are Goodnight Punpun, Boys Run the Riot, Orange, Skullface Bookseller Honda-san, and After the Rain. Now for the series that I'm currently caught up on, but more books are due to be published in the future, and I, at least at this point, intend on reading more when they do come out. Firstly, we have Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. The 4th book in that series has unfortunately been delayed, I think, until next year, so it's quite a long way off, but that is probably my favorite magical middle grade series. I love it. Then we've got the Monk and Robot series by Becky Chambers, which is a series of novellas. I've read the first 2, loved them both. My favorite graphic novel series of all time is Lightfall by Tim Probert. I've read the first 2 and I cannot wait for the 3rd one. I wish we had it already. I actually think that I would like to reread the first 2. They're only graphic novels, so they won't take very long, and I adore them. Then we've got Miss Mary Kate Martin's Guide to Monsters by Karen Foxley. This is sort of like a junior middle grade sort of series that has started this year. We've already got 2 books and I love them. Another middle grade series that we have 2 books is Amari. And of course, when book 3 comes out, I will be jumping on that quick smart. Then a couple of adult fantasy books that I have read the first book in, but I plan to read more when those do get released. That is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan and Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. Both of those were incredible, adored both. I think the Daughter of the Moon Goddess, the series is called The Celestial Kingdoms, and that book should be being released at the end of this month. So hopefully I'll get to that one pretty quick and then I can tick it off and call it a completed series because it's just a duology. Now for the series that I have read more than 1 book in that I definitely am continuing. So there are more books currently available that I want to read, but I've already read more than 1 book. Like I've read at least 2 books in each of these, so I'm like pretty committed. I'm pretty sure I know I want to keep going. The first is, of course, the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I've read the first 2 books and absolutely love this series. I honestly think it could become my favorite. Lady Trent's Memoirs by Marie Brennan. I've read the first 2 books in this series and can't wait to read more. This is just a cozy good time. Love it. The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. I have read the first 4 books and also read a short story. So I've read plenty of content. I know that this is a series I love. I just need to get back to it and keep reading and catch up. Before the Coffee Gets Cold series by Kawaguchi. I've read the first 2 books and really, I mean, like I loved the first one. I really liked the second. I plan on continuing with as many translations as we get of these books. I'm looking forward to the 3rd one, but I haven't got to it yet. I think because I know it's probably going to make me cry and I need to be ready for it. And then Natsume's Book of Friends, which is a manga series that I've read the first 2 volumes of and immediately fell in love with. I've already kind of started collecting the rest of the series and that's definitely one I want to continue with. These next 2 do technically fit on this list, but they're not as high priorities as the other. That is Heartstopper. I've read the first 3. I think I would like to continue with Heartstopper, but It's not a high priority for me at the moment. I loved it. It's adorable. I just don't feel like some compulsion to keep reading. And then the other one is Full Metal Alchemist, which I actually read the first like 8 or 9 volumes of early 2020. And then I bought the whole box set and I do want to continue with it. I just feel like I need to go back and start again. But I do definitely want to do that. Like I really loved Full Metal Alchemist and what I had read so far. And from what I've heard, it only gets better. So I need to return to that at some point. It's not as high up on my list as some of these other things, but I know I'll get to it in time. The next category is series that I've only read 1 book in. There are more books currently available and I'm pretty sure I want to continue. But I feel like having only read 1 book, I'm not quite as sure as I am with some of those other books that I mentioned in the previous category. The first is the Wayward Children series by SEANAN McGuire. I liked the first book that I read. I didn't love it, but I already own the second. So I think I'll see how I go with that second and then from there decide whether I want to continue with the series or not. The Wayfarer books by Becky Chambers. Obviously, I love the Tea and Monk Robot series by Becky Chambers. I read the first of the Wayfarers and I liked it, didn't love it, but I do want to give it a little bit more of a try. Raybearer by Jordan Afueko. I loved this in 2020 when I read it. And now the second book has been out for a little while, but I want to go back and reread the first one. I think I could love this duology. I already love the first book. Need to go back to it. The Last Binding trilogy by Freya Marsh. The first book was A Marvelous Light, which I really liked. It was just a good, cozy, fun time. The second book has just arrived, so that is like high up on my list at the moment, and I'm really looking forward to it. Then we've got The Grandest Bookshop in the World by Amelia Meller. This is an Australian middle fiction series. I actually read the prequel to this series that has just been released, and I loved it. I think it's one of my favorite middle grades that I've read this year. It's this historical fantasy set in late 1800s Melbourne. And like it's based on real people, real events, a real bookshop. It's just adorable and beautiful. So I want to go back and read the original book, which is kind of the sequel, I guess. But I need to get to that. Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. I read the first book, was it last year or maybe even the year before? I feel like it was last year. And I can't say that I loved it. But I don't know, it's such a classic of the genre and I also just hear such good things about it that I would like to continue, and I already own the books, so I really should. But it's been quite a while, so I feel like maybe I should reread the first one, but I also don't really want to because I didn't love it. So I don't know, let me know what you think in the comments, like how should I proceed with that one? And then for the manga series that I've just read one of, but I think I would like to continue, that's Blue Flag, A Silent Voice, Dead Demons, Destruction. Perfect World is one that I'm not entirely sold on, but I think I will try 1 or 2 more volumes before deciding whether I will keep up and read the whole thing or not. And Witch Hat Atelier is definitely one that, although it's not a high priority, I think I could really love it. So I do want to continue. And then the series that in the last couple of years I have decided to DNF after reading 2 or more books in. To be fair, there are plenty of other series that I have started but DNF'd either midway through the first book or at the end of the first book. And I feel like that list would just be so long that I didn't want to bother including those here. So the first that I'll mention is Mistborn. Obviously I have completed the first era, like the first trilogy of Mistborn, but I have categorically decided to not continue with Mistborn Era 2 or however many eras they may be after that. I am done with Mistborn. In fact, if you've watched my videos, you will know that I am done with Brandon Sanderson. So I have also decided to DNF Skyward. I've read the first 2 books and I actually did own the third, but I'm so done with Brandon Sanderson. I can't bring myself to read another page by him. Bridgerton was a series I read 4 or 4. I think I DNF'd midway through the 5th book. It's just so problematic. And I just think there are better romances out there. I don't know. How I even got to book 5, I don't even know anymore. It was a fever dream. And the manga series, Maisen Ikoku. This was a manga series that I was sort of like reluctantly enjoying. I loved the character of Kyoko, who is the female main character, but this is a manga series that was originally written in the 80s and is sort of being republished in English now. And it is just so dated and so sexist that even though I adored Kyoko and I wanted to see her grow and her journey, like the sexism and the perviness and the inappropriateness just got too much in the end. So I read the first 5, I think, and I think there's going to be 10 or 12 in total. And I couldn't. As much as I loved the art in Kyoko, I was done. Anyway, I'm hoping this won't be too long a video. I didn't want to like go into the ins and outs of what I like and basically like review every series for you. This I just really wanted to be kind of a snapshot of where I'm at with series right now. And I think as I read more and more series, which I'm definitely doing in the last year or so, it will be nice to have this to reflect on and sort of like gauge where I'm at and hopefully not taking on too many without finishing just as many, you know what I mean? I don't know. This is where I'm at. I don't feel too overwhelmed with how many series I've got on the go. Although I don't think I would like to have too many more. I'm kind of like at a comfortable threshold, I think. But anyway, that's enough rambling. Thanks for hanging out and chatting books with me. I would love to hear how you're going with the series that you're reading at the moment, if you've got any that you're prioritizing or any that you're deciding to DNF. Thank you to my wonderful patrons over on Patreon who essentially sponsor me and my channel. Thank you for your support, and especially big thank you goes to Lynette Brown, Livia, and Marie. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to talk to you in the comments, and I will see you soon in another video. Until then, happy reading. Bye!